All right, hello guys. This is a very different video than normal on the channel. And this is me after editing and recording the video already. I felt like I wanted to add a better intro to this because when I was recording this video, I had an outline for the beginning part of it, and I really wanted to improve upon kind of what I wanted to say at the beginning of the video. I don't really feel like I did a great job in the first take, so this video is covering a lot of topics. There's a lot of things going on in this video, and so I wanted to clarify kind of the main points of this video and why I felt like I needed to make this video at some point on this channel. And so, firstly, this is, in general, my story. It's, my personal struggles with depression, anxiety, heartbreak, and things like that. And the reason that I think that it's so important for me and why I wanted to make this video in the first place is because anyone watching this video, I wanted this to be kind of a video for anyone struggling with, mental illness or just issues in their life, for those people to know that they're not alone, that, there are other people that are going through similar issues, and to just kind of provide my story so that maybe that it can help someone else in the future. And it's in a lot of other, ways. This is a kind of a personal reflection video for me to look at, the last few years of my life and the way certain things have gone down, and the way I've grown as a person. It's very interesting to look back at, some of the clips or the images I'm going to have in this video for you guys to look at. So it's part of it is that as well. And there's other parts of this where, this is a bit of a tribute to my grandparents who passed away within the last few years. And I think the last main thing that I want to hit in this intro before I let the rest of the video play is this is, in a lot of ways, a thank you to the people that supported me throughout this. So people that are watching this video, I mean, if you watch or you're watching this video, you're someone that takes an interest in me, not just A Song of Ice and Fire, and that are supporting me quite a lot. So again, I appreciate any of the support there, any of my friends and family that have supported me as well. Some of my mods, Matthew, had a lot of input into how I wanted to do this video, so thank you to him as well. And yeah, so that's kind of the main points, so keep those kind of all in mind. And the last thing I'll leave you guys with before the video starts is, again, just, check on your loved ones, check on the people that you're close to. You never know what people are going through, and it's better to have maybe an awkward conversation than to not have that conversation at all. So yeah, let's get into the normal video, and yeah. All right, hello guys. I'm not really sure how to start out this video. If you saw the title, if you looked at the thumbnail, this is a very deep video for me. It's going to be very different than the normal Song of Ice and Fire content. And this video is for, I think, self-reflection for me personally, as I look through parts of my life, but also going to be a video for people that are, in a bad place in life. And I want to offer my story, where I am as a person now, for a few reasons. Really to kind of tie into why I made this channel in the first place, and to kind of help people that maybe are going through a tough time. This video specifically is going to talk about my, issues that I've had in the past with depression, anxiety, even to an extent, loss, and heartbreak, not like death, but that aspect of it. And so this video is going to be for the people that are watching this video or that watch this channel that maybe feel alone in that regard, and is going to be kind of what this channel has always been about. The main, reason I started this channel is for a number of reasons, but the main one was always because I enjoy talking about this content and talking about it with you guys. Something I'm going to talk about in this video quite a lot is some of the people I was surrounded by, and this doesn't have, you know, anything to do with them in this portion of it, but I in my life don't really have anyone I can talk about A Song of Ice and Fire with. I don't have a group of friends that have read the books. I have one of my friends that's read like the first book or two. I don't have anyone I can discuss this with. So being able to, you know, go on live streams with you guys, or, you know, talk about the chapters in, you know, books, it's something that it's great for me because I can have that conversation with other people, gain newer ideas. If you guys look at my first videos, they're not good. They're not great. There's a lot of ideas that I didn't even know existed. My ideas, I've changed quite a lot from the beginning. And so this channel, in one element, was made because of that. And a second part of it is for, again, the idea of giving you guys just something that maybe you can get away from whatever's going on in your life. You know, everyone's different. Everyone has something going on. And another thing I want to point out in this video is, you know, my experiences with depression, anxiety are going to be different than really anyone else's. Everyone else's case is different. I just want to kind of throw my outlook into it and how I got through some of those things that maybe can help you guys, or if you're going through something right now. And again, the main point of this channel was to give people the escapism and diving deeper into a topic that maybe you love, or maybe you're just getting into that you want to learn more about. That was always the point of this channel. And it's something I had to learn. Again, a lot of you guys know that I had a channel before this that wasn't made for the right reasons. It wasn't made because I had some big overarching reason to do it. This channel has maybe not been publicly, or maybe I've kind of hinted at it, but this is really what the channel was about. And when you look at the title and the thumbnail that I really haven't even addressed yet, it's a very dark tone. The title, or what I think the thumbnail is going to be as I'm recording this, is going to be something along the lines of how A Song of Ice and Fire and YouTube helped save my life. And I mean that. A Song of Ice and Fire, again, we're going to talk about this because we're going to go on a whole timeline of things I want to talk about. But A Song of Ice and Fire, in a lot of ways, was when I was going through my worst issues, whether that be through depression or grief of losing people in my life. Song of Ice and Fire was always that place that I could go to, that I could read, I could escape from this world and read about, you know, Catelyn's problems or Rob's problems or Dany's problems, and just escape. There was a point of my life where, you know, I was going to the local park and just reading this story, you know, 2 chapters a day, and it would help take the edge off. It would help take away any pain maybe I was feeling. And, you know, there was a point where I got really bad. Again, this is going to be a video that, you know, I just beware. There's some things in here that are going to get very dark. And, you know, there was a point of my life where I didn't really want to be alive anymore. I wasn't really living for myself. I was living for, you know, just people around me. And A Song of Ice and Fire, and especially content creation as a whole, gave me some sort of outlet that helped me distract from what was going on and led me on a better path in my life. And again, we're going to talk about it as I go further into some of the reasons that kind of got to that point. But yeah, and I want to really like just put this out there because I know there, you know, might be people that will comment this, and I hope this is not the theme or idea that you guys come away with, is that I'm doing this video for any type of attention or for views or something like that, because that's not what the point of this is. I am someone that I know right now this video is not going to get views. This is not a video for anyone in particular, except for people that either enjoy my content and want to know more about me or my story, how I got to here, or is for people that are just in a dark place and need, you know, maybe some advice, or just to not feel alone. Because that's another thing I made this community and wanted to build this community for, was that there's a reason that I am a YouTuber, especially in A Song of Ice and Fire, because it's not common, I don't think, in A Song of Ice and Fire or even Lord of the Rings channels to be someone that always has their webcam on and is always trying to talk to you, the viewer, not really like talking into a camera, talking to you guys, and trying to make a connection with you guys, the viewer, because I want this to be a community where, you know, we can bounce positive feedbacks. Some of the things that I enjoy the most is when, you know, you guys come into streams, or, you know, you'll come into video comments and you'll just talk about what's going on in your life, and maybe you had a big accomplishment. I know Mar, one of my viewers that always comments, always in YouTube, you know, streams and such, you know, he had a big accomplishment, and that was just really cool to see, like, because I've been in YouTube streams with these people for, you know, upwards of like a year now. I've seen, it's really cool to watch a lot of us grow. And that's one of my things that I really enjoy. And this is really, you know, a space that, you know, if you can't find someone in your real life, you know, you can always, you know, DM me, or we can talk about it in stream. Like, I'm a person that's very much struggled, and this is one of my, you know, biggest issues that I've struggled with, is talking about this stuff with people I'm close to. And a lot of the things I'm going to say in this video, not many people know in my life. Even just the idea of me not really wanting to be alive at a certain point, there's probably people that I can count on my hand that maybe actually know that. So again, we're going to go through this whole kind of timeline, what was going on in my life that led to these issues, and again, what my advice would be to people that are maybe going through some issues. And again, I think what the number one thing, just right away, is if you're going through something, talk to someone. That's something I didn't do, and it's something that just staggered my growth quite a lot. So if you're going through someone, whether it's, you know, talking to a friend, talking to a family member, talking to a therapist, and I know therapists can be expensive because it's something I looked at when I was, you know, in these issues. Talk to someone. I promise it will be better. And that's kind of what we're gonna leave it on, and we're gonna kind of go into the story, kind of, I guess, of my journey over the last few years. This hasn't been, you know, like right now, as I'm talking to you guys, I feel pretty happy with where I am in life. I mean, there's things I want to accomplish, there's things I'm working towards, but I'm in a much better place. You guys, a lot of you guys will not have known me when I was in my bad place. When this channel started, I was still, like, had some issues, but it wasn't nowhere near as bad as it was. So we're going to go back to the year of 2020. I am someone, again, that doesn't have a big family. I don't see a lot of my dad's side of the family very often at all. I'm not very close with my dad's side of the family for the most part. And so I really just had my mom's side of the family. And even then, it was a very small family. It was just like me. And I'm an only child as well. So that's another thing to add on to this, is when, you know, I got to a point where I felt so alone. I didn't really feel like there was anyone there really there for me that I could, like, lean on. One of those reasons I really feel like was because I was an only child. I was so used to being alone. I was so used to not, you know, having that person next to you, having a sibling that you really trust or care about. And, you know, that just comes with another idea that, I mean, even family wise, there's no one close to age to me, right? Everyone in my family is either like a generation above me or a generation below me. I'm kind of the only one that's of my age in my immediate family. And so the point of this story is gonna kind of start with when my grandfather passed. So my grandfather passed on, I believe, he passed in the beginning of March, a week after my birthday, when I turned 20. And it was something that, again, I just got to Bran's chapter, Brand 5 in my reread, and this is something that I really thought about when I was doing that chapter, is that this is the first time I really experienced loss, right? There had been people that had, you know, died, you know, that I went to funerals for, but it wasn't people I was close to. It's people maybe I knew of, but I didn't have conversation with them. I didn't know them very often, or I didn't know them that well. My grandfather, I was very close to. In my family, I look the most like my grandfather. I might throw a picture up at some point in this video. I look a lot like my grandfather. I have the same skin tone, pretty much. I have the same, like, face. I have the same hair. I have the same, like, height as him. I look like him. And just, he was someone that I gained a lot of my morals and a lot of my values from. And he was someone that felt like the glue of my family. Like, he was the person that, he was one of the few people that I think at this moment of my life, I felt like I could go to pretty much anything about. And he was someone that was very kind, but at the same time was not afraid to tell you, you know, what he thought, right? Like, he would give you honest advice while trying to put it in the kindest way possible. And something that I will always remember and kind of regret, when I look back on, you know, the months before he passed, was there was this moment that when we were having, you know, dinner, he tried to talk to me about, you know, my weight and my health as a whole. Again, I'm only 5'8", 5'9", right? Right now, I weigh about 147, which is like athletic. It's like athletic BMI leaning towards. So again, the average person should not weigh more than probably 165 at my, like, height. And I, at this point, was probably weighing about 210 pounds. I was massively overweight. I was massively obese. I was someone that was pre-diabetic at this point. I wasn't diabetic, but I was getting there. I was having high blood pressure. And he's somebody that tried to talk to me about those things. And all I could think about, this is something I always put in my rereads, because I think it's something that all of us can connect with, is when you're younger, you just feel like you know everything. And I remember just not visually, but just being angry at him for, you know, saying that to me. And it's just something I look back on and I understand more of why he said that. And it's something that really pushed me, especially in those early months, and those early times of trying to get into better shape so that I can survive longer, live longer, and find something to be happy with. And, you know, his passing is something that it affected me a lot more because of just the way it happened. It wasn't something like where my grandfather, you know, you saw it coming, where maybe his health condition was slowly breaking down or his mental state was breaking down. My grandfather was a very healthy person. He was someone that was active. And so from the outside looking in, when he died suddenly of a heart attack, it didn't seem real. It didn't make sense. When, you know, you looked at my grandmother, who had way more health issues, not to say that, like, she was, you know, not a healthy person. She was also, like, really thin and stuff too, but, you know, she was the one that had more of, like, the health issues, like falling, things like that. And, you know, things that we would learn about, you know, things that ended up happening between the two. I'm not gonna go too far into it because I don't really think it's my biz to start spreading stuff on the internet. But there was things that my grandfather was probably the perfect gentleman. I mean, he did everything for my grandmother, and I think that wore on him quite a lot. And so his passing, and the reason I'm bringing it up so much, is because it was kind of that first domino where, like, I, at this point, was already not happy with myself. I had a lot of bad habits that I'm going to talk about during this time period that affect me now, right? Like, when I was younger, I just did not take care of myself. If there's one thing to really take to heart from this video, is to take care of yourself when you're younger. If you're watching this video and you're 16, 17, 18, you know, you're whatever, take care of yourself, because those things will come back to bite you. I had bad back posture pretty much my entire youth, and now I'm paying the price. So it's just something I have to work towards, something I have to deal with because of things I did when I was younger. I did not have the best hygiene when I was younger. You know, things like taking care of my teeth, something that I'm trying to repair and do much better, but the damage I did when I was younger is there. There's just things that I did when I was younger that made me filled with kind of depression. And looking at the way I was as a person, it physically makes me cringe when I watch things of myself younger, images, and really understanding how I let myself get to the point that I was. And I'm gonna throw up probably a video, you know, right about now. It'll be a small little segment, because this is actually my first YouTube video I ever made, and it was for just a class. It wasn't actually a YouTube video or anything, but I just want to throw this up because, you know, I can see how broken of a person I was during this time. So I wanted to do my personal narrative speech on my grandpa, who recently passed away. So I want to start off with one of my favorite memories of me and him. So when I was younger, like, it's probably, I mean, this isn't really when I was younger, but when I was still about 18. And so, yeah, this was, again, a speech about when my grandfather passed, and why I think it hit me so hard is because, again, it was that first loss for me, but it's also the way that it happened. I was someone that, you know, we got to my grandparents' house. My grandmother called my parents before she called the police and the ambulance or whatever, and I got there, and it was one of those things that when you're doing the, like, action, or you have something occupying your brain, whether that's, you know, you're comforting, you know, someone, or you're doing this. I was not that. So while, you know, my grandfather was, you know, dead on the floor, it's me being on the phone, you know, with 911 and having to tell them everything that's going around. So while everyone else is doing something, I'm sitting in here just taking everything in. And that's something that traumatically just was in my mind for a very long time. It was something that was very difficult for me to process. And I think the biggest thing I also want to point into this video is, especially for men, for young men, is this idea, the stigma that is something I struggled with as well, is that men are not allowed to share their feelings, or not allowed to ever have any moments of weakness. And that's really how I felt during this time. And I don't think that's okay. I think there should be more awareness for men being able to have certain mental issues, and just being able to express themselves without being called weak, without being called, you know, whatever. And it's something where I felt like, and I still feel like that to this day, that I never was able to have that moment. I was never able to really break down, to have someone comfort me over what happened. I was having to be strong for everyone else. And that's how it feels. I think a lot of, you know, men or males watching this will understand that feeling of, like, you have to bottle everything else up for everyone else. And that's something that, again, was just another thing that made it worse, was that I didn't get to process this. I didn't get to really fully understand that my grandfather was not going to be there whenever I say I maybe graduated college, or, you know, I got married, or I had kids. He wasn't going to be there for that. And that's something that I didn't really process for months. And so we come to this point where, you know, it's been a couple months. It's kind of the fall of that same year, and my bad habits had grown worse. Just things had gotten much worse in my life. I was not taking school seriously. I wasn't doing well in school. I was, again, continuing to gain more weight. I think the most I ever got was about 215 pounds, which it's just, it's hard to talk about that, because for me, it was something that, when I look at how I feel now compared to then, I mean, I had trouble breathing, going to sleep, because of just how unhealthy I was. What I was putting into my body was not good. And it came to this point where I hated looking at myself. I hated myself. I hated the mentality I had. I hated that everything felt like it was always my fault. And that's something that I've still carried to now. I feel like I'm someone that takes a lot of self-accountability because of past things that have affected me. And I want to talk about, you know, I've talked a lot about myself, things that I've done that really led to this moment where I think everything just came out for me. Things just started breaking down in my life. I want to look at things around me, because it's not just what was going on internally within me. My grandmother, who had been with my grandfather for, I mean, I don't know how long, but I think 70, 60 something, 60, 70 years. Like, they had been together their entire lives. My grandmother was very quickly deteriorating. She had dementia, and she was someone that I love my grandmother a lot. I really do. But it was very taxing on both my aunt and my mother looking after her, because it wasn't like she went to live in a home or something, or, you know, she was living with my aunt during the week and us during the weekend. And it felt like, I felt like during that time, a lot of the, you know, pressure and things that my mother was feeling specifically got kind of put onto me. And I think at the same time, at that point, I didn't understand what my mother was going through as well. Losing her father, watching her mother kind of deteriorate. Like, it's something where I personally, yes, was struggling, and I was struggling really bad, but my mother was as well, with a lot of things that was going on then. And, you know, I look at this time, and I also look at, you know, who was I surrounded by, right? I've always thought this, and this is something that I've learned even more from just looking at, you know, people, studying people. Who you surround yourself with makes a big difference. And who I had around me, friend-wise, at the time was not good. There were people around me that I won't, you know, name any names, even though you guys won't know them anyway. Unless you know me in real life and you're watching this, and if you are, well, this is my journey, I guess. But the people around me, I'm not going to blame them for my problems, because they are inherently my problems. But a lot of the people around me during this point, I felt like were enabling me to make excuses for things in my life, to continue to do bad habits, or to, you know, feel a certain way. And, you know, people that I still have in my life, this isn't, because this is a whole different thing, but basically there was like a great divide in my friend group. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. But regardless, I struggled with kind of the people that were around me. And they didn't make me feel like, you know, I was wanted, I guess. I didn't feel like I was supported. Like, you know, like it was an actual friendship. And that was something that, again, I think I also struggled with, because I always felt like, and when some of these friendships that I'm talking about ended, it always felt like it was my fault. Like, everything was my fault, no matter what I did in life. And this is something, a mentality that, like, I dealt with much worse when I was in depression and anxiety and things like that, and having, you know, issues, that I would put all of the blame on myself. And it's a good and a bad thing, because it helps you understand what you need to do in life. So, you know, having this idea that, you know, I don't like the way I look, so self-blaming myself that I need to, you know, do something to where I feel happier with myself is good. But the constant destruction of yourself, where it's this idea that you're just constantly in your head hating what you're doing. It feels like a second person is in your brain criticizing every single thing you do. It's what it feels like. If depression feels like, for me anyway, it felt like a second person was in my head and it was taking over. And so that kind of leads me to something else that I want to mention, because I think there's a very common misconception. Now, again, everyone's depression is very different. But depression to me is not always feeling sad, feeling this. Depression is a lot of times feeling nothing, feeling like you're just there, like nothing is really happening. And I feel like that's how I felt a lot of the time. I felt like I was just wandering in life aimlessly. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't have anything that I particularly liked doing anymore. And that's a whole nother part of this, is that just interests, maturing, growing up, things that I liked to do before I didn't like to do anymore. I'm someone that, you know, played a lot of video games when I was younger. And something that I've kind of learned as I've grown up is that I don't really think I ever truly liked video games that much. I liked the social aspect of video games. I liked playing with, my friends and working towards a goal or, doing something. And I play video games now, but it's very rarely. I mean, maybe it's like maybe 2 times a week, if I can get some friends to play. And that was something that really took a hit during this time of, I don't like doing this. I don't like any of my interests anymore. And that was something that was a really trying period for me. So at this point of my life, I felt so many pressures of the world, of what was I supposed to do with my life? What was I supposed to be doing? Why was I living anymore? Like, what was the point? That's something I felt a lot. Like, what was the point of continuing to go on? And a lot of the answer to that wasn't things that I wanted. It wasn't things that I was looking forward to doing. It was because of other people. I wanted, to stay alive because I know it would crush my mother. It would, hurt people in my life. That's why. And that's not a good reason to live. You need to have some sort of passions. You need to find something. And one of the greatest advices I think I ever got, which is weird because I'm not really friends with this person. I'm not friends with them at all. And I haven't talked to them in years, but someone told me once that really, I think, impacted me quite a lot was to try different things. Try things that, just change up your routine. If you're doing the same things over and over again every day, try something different. Because inherently, if you continue doing this cycle that you're not happy with, you're just going to stay in the cycle. And so I kind of applied that slowly to my life, but that's kind of where A Song of Ice and Fire comes in. A Song of Ice and Fire, the books, up to this point of my life, I'd read them maybe once or twice, but I started reading them a lot. I started reading them every day. And it became like, I know like how some people have like the Bible, where, you read the Bible every night and things like that. That's kind of how A Song of Ice and Fire became to me, where I just read it because it helped me. It helped me, like I talked about, where this is one of the biggest reasons why I love A Song of Ice and Fire, is because I can go into these characters that had issues, that had deep emotional flaws, like I did. I saw a lot of the things that I struggled with in these characters, especially a character like John, especially a character like Rob, and even Danny to an extent. But again, like Danny, like me and Danny have way different things going on. She's a young woman, I was a young man, like kind of different. But like, I just look at John and Rob and this idea, especially when you come into their stories where there are these two characters where, in John's case, he feels alone. He feels like he's not wanted. And I really resonated with that and trying to figure out what his purpose was. That's something that's also there with Rob, with all of this pressure on him and these things and how he has to come into this role of being a man. I resonate a lot with those characters specifically, and even Stannis as I would go on. But it became a part of me of where, how do I change what I'm doing, and how do I process some of the grief I had, some of just the issues I was dealing with. How do I get through that, and how do I even talk to anyone about this? Because again, the friends that I was surrounded by at this time, I didn't feel like I could talk to. I didn't feel like I could trust them with a lot of the things going on with me. And, even a lot of the things I'm telling, in this video, especially as we get further into it, there's maybe 2 or 3 people that probably know. So this to me is something where I finally feel somewhat comfortable talking about a lot of this stuff. And just a kind of a mid thank you, which I'll do a thank you at the end, but there's a few people that if they watch this video, they know who they are, that really helped me a lot. So I want to thank you. I had a few people that were just angels, that would listen to me no matter what I said, what was going on, that I really do appreciate them. But getting into this whole issue and looking even at like I was not sleeping much, or if I was sleeping much, I wasn't going to sleep till 5 a.m. You know, I was staying up either playing video games or watching videos, and I wouldn't get up till, you know, midday, 1 p.m. Like, it was bad. And I think I did a okay job of just hiding things from people. Like, people didn't know how bad it got. And it kind of came to this point where I didn't want to feel like this for the rest of my life. I didn't want to feel like this burden to everyone around me, constantly, you know, maybe needing that emotional support. If I even felt like reaching out to someone, feeling like I wasn't good enough for anything. That's something I felt constantly, that I wasn't good enough. And that goes a lot with a lot of other things, you know, with just the way the world is now with social media, where you're always seeing people living their best lives, but in reality, it's just like a moment or two. And you don't know what those people are dealing with, constantly trying to live up to what everyone wanted for me, because I was living for other people. And I finally kind of figure it out. And this was a process that took a while. I'm kind of condensing this because this went on for months. I mean, I struggled with this for probably 2.5 years. And I finally kind of started to figure out what I needed to do. And that started with, you know, baby steps, changing what I was doing, reading more, trying to, you know, take walks at the park, maybe even trying to run. And, you know, I look at anyone that's, you know, maybe trying to lose weight, or maybe you're trying to get more physically fit. It's not all going to happen in a day. It's not. When I first started trying to jog or run at the park, I struggled to run a half a mile. As bad as that sounds, as awful as that is, it set me on the right path. And, you know, maybe I can only run a half a mile here, but maybe in a month or two, I'd be able to run a quarter of a mile, or, you know, maybe I could run that half a mile faster. And all of these things, what the difference is I was working towards a goal instead of constantly counteracting myself, constantly telling myself I can't do this, or making excuses as to why I couldn't. That's another big thing for me, was that I was always making excuses for myself. I was always making excuses. Oh, I can eat this because this, or I can do this, or I won't do this because of this or this. And making, you know, excuses because I was sorry for myself, because of the situation that I was in. And, you know, it's a pattern. Depression is a pattern of just your brain, or your second self, I guess I'll say, going against you, telling you can't do things. And this is something that didn't go away, but at least there was a start. There was a foundation of things I wanted to do, accomplish. And there was going to be a lot of bumps. Around this time as well, I started streaming. And this was something that at the beginning was something that gave me a little bit of happiness. I was working towards a goal, trying to build a community. Again, wasn't for the right reasons. Back then, it was just because, oh, well, you know, I play a lot of video games. I might as well stream them, and, you know, maybe I'll make some money from it. That was the motivation of that. And that's not the right motivation, because it can't take you anywhere. Eventually, if you are streaming for 6 months, or you're uploading on YouTube for a year and you're not going anywhere, you're going to be like, oh, well, I don't have the motivation. Like, what's the motivation to keep you going? And that was the whole problem. So I had a Twitch channel before this YouTube channel. I had another YouTube channel.
Like, well, oh no, we're getting out. Never mind.
Ult incoming.
A lot of you guys will know that. And it was a learning experience in a lot of ways of, you know, how do I make video look decent? How do I make my audio sound okay? How do I even get the equipment to stream? How do I do this well? And it was a very rough period. I mean, the streams were bad. I mean, they looked bad. They were being streamed from my Xbox, so they were just not good. But it was all a learning experience. It was learning how to talk to a camera, right? Being able to talk to a camera when there's no one responding, when you're in a live stream and there's nobody talking. Now, ugh, it's just nasty. What's got behind me? Oh, stop. Oh, what? You choked. Oh. That's a skill not a lot of people can do, in my opinion. It's if you look back at my first stream on this channel, the first stream on this channel, which was kind of a test stream, it was kind of see, okay, are there people that are going to watch this? And the actual answer was no. That first stream, if you go all the way back, was a stream about Robert Baratheon, Renly, and Stannis. I had a really written out notes for doing the video. I put a lot of work into before the stream started. I did the stream. There was nobody that watched it. And that's okay. But you guys, now that I go back and I look at that stream and I see, okay, well, people did watch it. People did eventually go back and watch that stream and, you know, people liked it. But that was something that I was doing just wrong on this. I was doing this Twitch channel and I was streaming every day. Every day. An hour to 2 hours every single day. Playing games or doing this or that. And getting no viewers. I streamed for 6 months and maybe had, I think the most followers I ever had on that Twitch channel was like a little over 100 in 6 months to a year of streaming consistently, like 5 to 7 days a week for an hour to 2 at a time. And one of it was because, again, stream quality was just bad. 2, I wasn't making improvements. I was doing the bare minimum of thinking just, oh, well, if I keep doing this, eventually it'll happen. And so that leads me to YouTube. So I started doing YouTube because I kind of started to figure out and do more research into, you know, how does content work? Like, how do you build a community? And this is all skills that I will use when this channel came, but it was something I used on that channel. But the point of this is to understand that eventually, when it got to this point where I'm streaming consistently, it wasn't because I wanted to. It was because I forced myself to. And I wasn't enjoying it. It was part of the reason I was depressed as well, as that I wasn't good enough. I could not do this stream. I could not do it. I wasn't good enough. There was no traction. I was still talking to myself in every single stream unless one of my friends was in it. And so that weared on me as well, because everything that I tried to do, I felt like I failed at. Everything that I thought, you know, maybe I could do this, I failed. And some days I had good days, you know, but some days were bad. Some days when I didn't complete, you know, however much I wanted to run, or maybe I just didn't do well at school or something. And you build on that, I, you know, had a stream where nobody was watching. I was just a person that did not feel like I couldn't accomplish anything. I didn't have that. And so that's something that, you know, I translate to content creation. And when I say content creation and YouTube helped save my life, is because when I started making content that I actually enjoyed, I actually liked, and the pressure wasn't on me at all. This channel was supposed to be a channel that me and my friend Luke uploaded on once a week, just for fun. There was no pressure. There was no make content because I want to get views. It was make content because it was fun. And when I started making a Song by Some Fire content, I enjoyed making that content. That's the content I wanted to make on my first channel, but because it never got any views on my first channel, I didn't make it. And also it was a gaming channel. So it didn't make sense to upload that on there. Just like how on this channel, I don't upload Lord of the Rings anymore. I upload it on my other channel. That's kind of the way I felt. And you even look at video games I wasn't really enjoying, but when I look at it, I enjoy them even less when I started putting the pressure of, okay, I have to get a good recording, or, you know, I have to have a good stream. I have to do well on stream. If I don't do well on stream, then I'll look like an idiot. All of these things just conflated in my mind of this feeling of hopelessness, of feeling like I wasn't enjoying any part of my life. And the parts that I was enjoying, you know, reading A Song by Some Fire at the park, just being out in nature, walking, things of that nature, there was so much bad in the rest of that part of that. where coming home was bad. I didn't have a good relationship with my parents at this point in my life. My grandma, you know, was like living with us, and it just was a tough thing to do. You know, when people that have had maybe a grandparent or a parent with dementia will understand what I'm talking about. It is a very hard thing to do. And it was just something where I wasn't taking my life seriously. I wasn't doing things to be a better person. I wasn't doing things to be happy, and I was trying to do those things. So again, for you guys watching this video, I think the main thing about it is finding a purpose in life. Find what you like to do or you're good at. Maybe that's maybe you don't have anything that you enjoy doing right now. Find something. Try new things. I was someone that never thought I would like hiking. I started doing hiking. I love hiking. Hiking's super fun. I enjoy being out in nature and things like that. Something I never would have thought. And so, you know, it's just this constant pattern. And it kind of gets to this point where I believe it was a year after, it was a little over a year after my grandfather passed, my grandmother also passed. And this wasn't nearly as bad as when my grandfather passed, because my grandfather passed and it was a surprise. It was a shock. It was something that shouldn't have happened. It's something you couldn't predict. Whereas with my grandmother, you knew it was coming. It was something that I had kind of already mentally prepared myself for. You know, my grandmother, again, I love her, but she was not my grandmother, you know, after a certain point. You know, she wasn't the same person anymore. She could not function. And so she passed. And so I felt another, you know, loss in my life. I lost both of my grandparents, the only grandparents I had. And it felt like kind of the glue of my family was just gone. And this is something else I'll talk about briefly, because I've been talking about kind of other things surrounding my life at this time that led to some of the things that I was dealing with. Is just, I felt like my family was, it would just, everything was missing. I'd grown up every single, you know, year of my life, you know, having my grandparents have Christmas or things like this. And it was just such a big change that it put me in this deep depression of wanting the past, regretting things in the past. And this is something that will drive you insane if you just sit there and you think about how much the past was better, how you'd rather be there, how everything's gone to shit. It's something that I still struggle with today when I look at things like my past relationship. I think about some of the things that were really positive during that. We're going to get there. That's going to be a whole nother section of the video, but this section of my life, and I also look at, you know, my job that I still have. I didn't enjoy doing it. And again, I know it's a job, but I didn't enjoy really anything about it. Even though I won't even say it was the worst part of my life at that point. I mean, just having some social interaction with people, or maybe I'd be just taken away from any of my mental things that were going on at that time. And so I think, you know, by the time I ended up getting to, I believe it was the end of 2021, I was in a place where, you know, I'd been continuously, you know, exercising more and losing weight. So I was seeing some progress. So I was hitting a lot of my goals. I was kind of understanding how to be more of a happier person. I, you know, had this whole situation that at first really hit me hard, you know, losing a lot of my close friends that I'd had for the past, you know, couple years. People I considered my brothers, even though, you know, I look back now on it and I think it wasn't the right thing for me at the time. And it was, all the right things happened that needed to happen. You know, a lot of the, you know, people that I felt like were enabling me, or that, in my opinion, were the toxic parts of me, were amplified, were no longer in my life. And that opened the door for other people to come into my life that, you know, really helped me. I talk about this person on this channel a lot because they helped found this channel. This channel would not exist if it was not for them, even though they don't upload on it anymore or whatever. But, you know, my friend Luke, one of my best friends now, you know, he I think is the person that really taught me what a real friendship looks like. And I appreciate him. That goes without saying for all of, you know, my closer friends now. You've seen a couple of them on the channel, but so my situation around me was getting better. the things that I was doing was working, trying new things, going to just a different place, going to A Song of Ice and Fire, rereading Lord of the Rings during this time, getting back into reading really helped me a lot. And I got to a place where I had lost, I think at this time it was like 25 pounds maybe. I was down to like, no, it was more like 30 or 35. I was down to like 175 at a point. I still wasn't where I wanted, but I'd made a lot of progress. And, you know, I was really liking, you know, a lot more who I was. I wasn't there yet. I was still struggling a bit with some of my, you know, issues. And I'm still kind of struggling with some of my relationships with my parents and things like that. And I think, you know, I got into this relationship with this girl. And so this is when the channel started. So the channel started in the summer, I believe, of 2021.
Big shout out to Luke. He did our banner. I think it looks pretty good. You know, it only took him like 4 months. You know, because Luke's special, but it looks good.
If I'm not mistaken. So the period I'm talking about right now where I was kind of like, I still had depression and anxiety to an extent, but it was nowhere near as bad. Like it was something that maybe it would affect me like once every like 2 weeks. It was there. It wasn't fully gone, but the process of like me becoming a better person of who I wanted to be was more at the forefront. I was hitting more of my goals. I was doing things more that I was happy with. I was surrounded by people that made me feel wanted, that made me feel like, you know, better about my life. And so, you know, this channel starts. And so I'm on this portion where this channel really grew in the YouTube algorithm around October, November of that year. And so I was in a period where I was seeing my YouTube channel, my YouTube community grow to an extent that I hadn't been able to even reach in a year, or even a year and a half if you count the Twitch portion. And this is all while I still was kind of uploading on my first YouTube channel, and I stopped because I was like, I don't enjoy doing this anymore. So I just stopped it. I learned what wasn't working for me. And so a lot of things culminated at the right time, because we get to November of the end of that year. I think it was 2021. I'm getting old. I can't remember years well, guys, but the end of 2021, and I met this girl and we started dating, and it was like one of the happiest moments of my life, because so many things were just hitting at the right place. I was in a happier place, but I wasn't there yet. I wasn't fully there yet. Again, I was on like if you're talking about like a book, I was on like the falling action. I wasn't on the resolution yet of the things I was struggling with. And this girl, you know, no hard feelings to her. And, you know, I'm not going to talk about our relationship too much because that's more of a private thing. I'll talk about things that I want to talk about that don't really affect that. But I have no ill will to her at all. And I, you know, hope for the best for her, and she deserves the best. So, yeah. But I was entering this relationship, and looking back on it, I was not ready for this relationship whatsoever. I had never had a relationship up to this point, and I will always be thankful for her being my first love and my first relationship. But I wasn't ready for this relationship. I wasn't. I was still dealing with things when it came to my self-image. I was still dealing with things that I wasn't happy with myself yet. And those are all things that I think for a healthy relationship you should be, right? You shouldn't be needing someone else to feel happiness. You should be happy with yourself and be able to be alone. And I wasn't those things yet. I was working towards it. I was getting there, but I wasn't there yet. And I just was not the man that I needed to be in this relationship. I was not. There was things that I did that were just they shouldn't have been done. They just, and the things I'm talking about are just things that like I was doing that were like selfish. Like it was things where I wasn't thinking about her, I was thinking about me. And that's a lot of things that I will just like put a lot of self-accountability on. I was not the person I needed to be in that relationship, and that's why part of the reason why it failed. I won't talk on things that had to do with her. There were other things, but that from my side, I just was not the person I needed to be. And so that happens. I will say at this time though, right, the YouTube channel making a lot of progress and things are going really good. On that side of it, you know, growing a community, getting to know a lot of you guys, talking about some of my things. And so that was all really good. And so again, March, God, I hate the month March. It's my birthday month, but I swear everything bad happens in March. I lost my first cat in March. I didn't even bring that up. I lost my first cat and my grandfather in the same week. So that was, yeah. And then got broken up with in this month as well, which, you know, it is what it is. But that was, again, a moment where this is going to be more, you know, getting away from the depression part of it, because I feel like at this point, you know, it's going to come back a little bit with this, but Heartbreak, especially, I think maybe, I don't know, I've never had a love after her as of yet, but the feeling of that I was going through when we ended, it was a feeling that, you know, I've talked about, you know, I did not want to be alive anymore. I just didn't have anything. It was a feeling of being hollow. The pain I felt from when we split was infinitely worse. It's something I never want to experience again in my life. It's something that, it's one of the reasons why I do not pursue relationships right now, because that just devastated me for a few months. And it's something you guys won't even notice, right? Like, I was consistently uploading while this was going on. Like, I had said like something about, you know, getting out of a relationship, but like this little stretch, like I'd say a good 3 months after that point, I just was it was very difficult for me. And I think I gained a lot out of that relationship. I gained so much about what I needed to improve about myself, whether that be mentalities I was having or things I was doing that I needed to fix. And, you know, something else, but this isn't anything to really do with the relationship. It's more how I handled the idea of how do you stay motivated when you're happy? Because again, like I'll talk about, if I was asked to rank, you know, my top 5 like happiest moments, like 3 of them would probably be with her. I hope she never watches this, by the way. But so when you think about it like that, like, how do I continue to work out? Because at this point I was starting to do running more. I was starting to like build weights, you know, or do weights and stuff. How do you stay motivated? Like, how do you consistently, you know, stay on like a calorie deficit to continue like losing weight while also gaining muscle and all these things when you're happy? And that's something that I found I struggled with way more than anything else at this point, is that I am someone that definitely is motivated by pain, that's motivated by anger, sadness. I am someone that still uses those. When I need motivation, I go to a place where I remember all of these things that I've talked about in this video. I remember all of who I was as a person and how I never want to be that again. I never want to look back in the mirror and hate who I am as a person. Look back and see that, you know, I'm massively just unhealthy and I physically just am struggling, and mentally. That was something that I think the end of this relationship taught me a lot about myself. And it was one of the weirdest things, because one of the saddest moments in my life, one of the worst, and another thing that I think really came out of this relationship ending is I became much closer to my mother than I was at any point over the last few years. Because how I'm talking about, like, you know, I never was able to break down. I was never able to have any moments where, you know, I was the one being comforted or being able to let out any of those feelings that I had had. This was probably, you know, the night this all happened was probably the first time my mother had ever seen me just break down, like just break down. I just couldn't deal with what was going on. I couldn't hold it in. I couldn't deal with it. And my mother stayed up with me for a long time and helped me. So I'm very thankful for her. And I'm thankful for a lot of things that came out of that relationship. I'm trying not to get emotional, but I'm struggling right now. But yeah, I'm an emotional guy. As you guys, some of you may know, some of you may not. But yeah, so that relationship taught me a lot. And what followed was probably the happiest moments of my life outside of that relationship. Because as you guys will know, I have a plaque in my room that notes the exact day that we hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel. And it was one of those things where it seemed like, again, if you believe in God, if you don't believe in, I don't, you know, it doesn't matter to me, but I believe in God. So it seems like God put everything, all the pieces hit me at the right time. Because, you know, again, I had the wrong motivation for when I started working out even harder and when I got to more of my goals, because a lot of it was like, let me stick it to the X. But it's like, yeah, you know. But I eventually got to what my eventual weight goal was. So my weight goal when I first started, you know, when I first was planning out what I wanted to be, what did I want to be? What did I want to look like? It was 165 pounds. And I hit that, and we also hit 1,000 subscribers, which had been a huge goal of mine for a very long time. At this point, it was something that it was a feeling I don't know how to explain when it happened, because it wasn't like, oh, it's this, you know, grand thing, but it was this confirmation in my mind and this, you know, finally being able to say, you know, I built something, right? Like I have these people that want to listen to me or want to have a dialogue about a Song of Ice and Fire or whatever I'm talking about. And it was just a feeling of, you know, hitting all of some of my goals I've been working towards for years up to this point. I had been working for years to get to 165 pounds. I'd been working for like a year and a half to almost 2 years when this channel hit 1,000 subscribers. It was a moment that, a feeling I will never forget in my life. It was just great. It was a great feeling. And I think that, to me, that was kind of the moment where I really got to be in a better place. Because through those, you know, months directly after getting out of that relationship, I think it was one of the best things for me. As much as I, again, you know, don't think badly of my ex at this point or things, but I probably needed that. I needed to be given the motivation to be a better person, to find who I wanted to be, what I wanted to be, what did I wanted to do. And yeah, so that kind of gets us kind of towards the end of this video, because after this point, you know, getting to 1,000 subscribers, it was just kind of continuing momentum, continuing to try and build who I wanted to be and what I was the most passionate about. And what things I'm the most passionate about kind of has taken a little bit of a derailment because I haven't really been able to work out. So that part of it's kind of like, I try to do what I can without messing my back. For you guys that don't know, I have a herniated disc in my back, so it's like, can't really do much of that, but still, but I'm passionate about, you know, Song of Ice and Fire, passionate about, you know, this channel and, you know, making at least decent content for you guys. Sometimes even I can tell which ones I'm like, you know, it's okay, but it's not great. You know, building, you know, connections with you guys is one of the reasons why I do videos the way I do them. Because I want you guys to know who I am when I'm talking to you. I don't want to be this voice that's just talking. And I don't have any problems with anyone that does do that, but that's not the way I formulated my channel. My channel was supposed to always be a place that you could escape and talk about something you love, or, you know, think about a new idea maybe you hadn't heard of, or learn something about this world. That's what the channel was always supposed to be. And I think, you know, each and every one of you guys that supports me on a daily basis. I mentioned this in the last reread that came out. Actually, I don't know when this video is going to come out, but I mentioned this in a video that, you know, you guys that send me messages or comments that, you know, that you appreciate what I do, or, you know, you like the content. It means a lot to me, because I'm not someone that, you know, built this channel having that. I was someone that, for the longest time, I've spent probably more time on YouTube and Twitch not having anyone say they were thankful for what I was doing, or just being very kind. And, you know, I try to at least look at what you guys, you know, say on videos. I don't respond to them all the time because I just don't have the time. There's just too many of you that have your own awesome ideas. I try to at least, you know, like what you guys say. And so I'm just very thankful for, you know, you guys. I'm thankful for people in my life. One or two people specifically that during the worst points of my life were always there for me, even if we're not as close as we were back then. I'm very thankful for some of, you know, my family that have been with me, and I'm very thankful for I think most importantly, the friends I have now. Like I talked about, I'm an only child, and a lot of the people that I've, you know, that are my close friends are like family to me, and I really do appreciate them a lot. And also, another, you know, little massive shout out, thank you to my awesome mods for the stream, namely Matthew and Ashley. I appreciate you guys a lot, and you're always constant support and stuff. So I wanted to give you guys like a massive shout out, as well as all the other stream regulars. And yeah, I know this seemed like kind of a massive like why now type of video, but it was something that has always been planned in my head. I just didn't know when I wanted to do this video. I didn't know when it was right, and I kind of just wanted to do it. So if you watched all the way through this video, you a real one, for one. And two, thank you. I do appreciate anyone that supports me enough to have watched this video. But yeah, thank you guys all for watching, and we'll be back hopefully with a happier video in the next one.